Well, hello and welcome to week 15 in our series, Adventures in Gardening. Now, I'm not a gardener, but as you see behind me, I have this beautiful plant, this great raised bed. There's one over here. We have a beautiful Italian prune behind me, two grapevines, and on the other side here I have a variegated apple tree and two pear trees. I have honey, I think they're called honeyberries that are flowering right now. And I also have blueberry plants behind me. I have a beautiful green lawn, gorgeous flowers, etc. But this is not me. I do not do these things. My husband is the green thumb in our home. He's the one that takes care of the yard. My mother-in-law, who I caregive for, is the one who loves to garden. And so these raised beds were made for her so that she's able to continue gardening. And that's part of what's going on in today's lesson. She talks about gardening and she talks mainly about food gardens, but there's so many types of gardens out there. Flower gardens, rock gardens, cactus gardens. I mean, there's orchards. And in some countries, the yard itself is referred to as a garden. In today's society, though, we don't just live in houses, we live in townhomes and apartments, and some people live in trailers, and some people have yards, some people don't. The goal is to find a place of reprieve. With that, we're going to go back inside the house. I'm not sure where you're joining me from, or if you're in the United States, or if you're in another country, but I'm from Oregon in the United States, and I'm in the Portland metro area, and it is still very cold outside. So I've popped in, and I have some flowers behind me that I picked up from the store this last week, because sometimes that's the only garden that I'm okay with. I do have some African violets up here, and I do have a poinsettia that I've still managed to keep alive since Christmas. But I am not much of a green thumb, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I have other gifts, but I do enjoy the beauty of God's creation and flowers. I think about lots of different things when it comes to gardening. I, growing up, worked on a farm that had berries, mainly strawberries and different varieties of blackberries, and there was a season for different parts of caring for those types of plants. There was a season where we would pick the berries and take them to the cannery or the weigh station or wherever we were taking them. And then there were times after that where you would cut back the vines or mow down the strawberries to stimulate regrowth for the next season. We would weed, and when things would grow, we would retrain. The blackberries would retrain up on posts and wire. And when we cut those back, them drying out, the canes drying out, and then removing them was a lot of hard work and very dusty, but it was a very rewarding job. And I think that I could probably keep those types of things alive. As far as vegetables, though, yeah, that's not my cup of tea. And that's okay. I do well with the tomatoes. So one of the plants that we seem to have a plethora of every year are tomatoes. And my mother-in-law loves tomatoes. And I think last year we had, 8 plants, 5 regular size, and then 3 smaller, like grape or cherry tomato size. And I thought, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with all this produce that's going to go bad? And her thought was, well, we're just going to eat it. And I'm like, there's no way we can eat all of those. So I pulled out a book that I love. I have a huge set of the Bear Wallow books. And this one is specifically on old-fashioned tomato recipes. And what I did is, in here are some tomato sauce recipes. I regularly make with stuffed green pepper. I had to think, what do I regularly make? Stuffed green peppers, and or any type of pepper. But they had some homemade tomato sauce, and their recipe, there's 4 tomato sauce recipes. There's a tomato puree and a tomato paste recipe. And they also talk about how you can can those, and I did. I canned these fantastic tomato sauce, and we're out now. It didn't take long. It took us just a couple months to get through those because they were just amazing. But then all the little cherry tomatoes, they were going to go bad, and just knowing how bad it would be for me, I found a way to use my food dehydrator to create sun-dried tomatoes. So it was very simple. I rinsed them, cut them in half, stuck them on the dehydrator, sprinkled this mixture of spices that I found a recipe for, I think online, and just enjoyed those as a lovely little snack, or you could add them to recipes and stuff. So even if you don't have tomatoes in your garden, or you don't have a large enough plot to plant a garden, I want to remind you that there are places out there that you can go picking if you desire, or you can pick up fresh produce from the produce stand or from the store and make smaller batches of those things. I'm still working on jams from quite a few years ago. Just overpicked one year and made so much strawberry jam, it's coming out my ears. And I need to find recipes to utilize that so that it doesn't go to waste. Because if it goes to waste, if I just toss it, there goes all of that time of picking and preparing it into the creation it is. And it's something that I can still enjoy. So, and we're peaches. So yeah, you can can a ton of stuff. So finding those simple ways of doing it, and the internet has all of these fantastic spots, but also keep in mind there's these fun books and that you can find how to do simple recipes. Sorry, I'm holding on to my phone today because my setup is a little bit different and I don't have the ability to do other ways. But yeah, so we were, I was looking at so many different things about gardening and how it relates to things, not just in nature, but Scripture talks about how Jesus went to the garden to pray. And before he was arrested. And to me, that is such a beautiful thing that he went away from people where it was quiet. And I love going to gardens and visiting gardens, and there are so many possibilities out here in the Pacific Northwest. Someday I would love to go to Canada to the Victoria Gardens. I think those would just be splendid to enjoy. But we have up here in this area the Hulda Klackner Lilac Gardens that I love to visit. I love lilacs. Portland has an amazing rose garden. So there's lots of stuff out there. So there is joy to be found when gardening, whether it be in the yard or finding other ways to garden. One of the things that comes to mind with gardening is weeding, which most of us don't enjoy doing. I think it's a pretty fair thing. And to me, it's crucial, even if I am not a gardener in the sense of vegetable gardening or flower gardening or rock gardening or whatever, there is still weeding to be done in my personal life. Most of that weeding is personal, my attitudes or reactions to things. And sometimes it's habits, those habits that we really need to analyze and figure out. Is that plant, the weed, is it beneficial to the health of everything around it, my family, my demeanor, my personality, my character, things of that nature? So even though her section specifically refers to that soil garden, for someone like me, it doesn't work. So I have to think about my own garden, my personal garden. So with that said, I hope you enjoy this week's lesson. I did want to share some of the things that she shared, which I really, really loved. And this is someone what is their name? I'm sorry. Edith Schaefer, in her excellent book, The Hidden Art of Homemaking, lays out her philosophy that as God's children, we should seek to reflect our Creator with artistic, creative expression in our everyday lives. Schaefer has some inspiring words to say about gardening. Almost anyone can have enough soil, light, and seeds to become involved in the magic of growing things. One does not need to have a degree, nor even a tremendous talent to enjoy and bring enjoyment to others through the medium of gardening. You may have 300 acres to work with, or 3, a large and fertile garden surrounding a suburban home, or a tiny square space in the back of your city home. You may have a large balcony with space for containers of some sort, or only a windowsill or two. The day the first tips of green are seen, if they are your seeds planted by your fingers, there is a thrill that is surely similar to producing an artwork. And I do have to say, when I can keep something alive, something green alive, I'm very excited about that. My children are also a garden to me, and I see the fruits they bear, and to me it's just such a blessing to know that I had some sort of part in who they are today. So blessings to you, and I will see you next week. And next week we are discussing the simple secret of omitting stress from your life. Do you think that's possible? We're going to talk about it.